It's my pleasure to welcome you all for this webinar BIS Standards Touch Our Life. Now I welcome our head of the department, Dr. K. Arun Vasandageetan sir, to give away the welcome address.
Thank you, Krishna. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Dr. Arun Vasandageetan, Head Department of Mechanical Engineering, St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, OMR Chennai, one of the reputed engineering institutions in Tamil Nadu. It's my honor to represent St. Joseph's in its 26th year, which has a dynamic chairman, Dr. B. Babu Manoharan, under whose guidance we all excel. Always with us, our beloved Managing Director, Mr. Jessie Priya, and beloved Director, Mr. Sasi Sekhar, whose progressive ideas guiding us to achieve more. I wish to take this opportunity to thank our beloved Principal, Dr. P. Ravichandran, for his continuous motivation and support. Today's webinar is in the title BIS Standards Touch Our Lives, presented by Mrs. G. Bhavani, Scientist E. Bureau of Indian Standards. Welcome, ma'am. BIS. BIS is a national standards body working under the administrative control of Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. While Indian Standards Institution, now BIS, was established in 1947 with the objective of harmonious development of standardization activity in India. Formulation of Indian standards is one of the core activities of BIS. BIS has been providing traceable and tangible benefits to the national economy in a number of ways, providing safe, reliable, quality goods, minimizing health hazards to consumers, promoting exports and imports, control over proliferation of varieties, etc., through standardization, certification, and testing. Keeping in view the interest of consumers as well as the industry, BIS is involved in various activities like formulation, system certification scheme, product certification scheme, compulsory registration scheme, foreign manufacturers certification scheme, hallmarking scheme, laboratory recognition scheme, sale of Indian standards, consumer affairs activities, promotional activities, training services, both national and international level, information services. Obtaining the BIS registration is essentially voluntary in nature. However, BIS requires compulsory certification for products which impact the health and safety of consumers. The quality certification of these products safeguard people from several health and safety hazards. In the era of globalization and the growing importance of ensuring conformity with standards in global trade, BIS has huge significance and responsibility. The conformity assessment procedures have become increasingly important in the modern days, and hence BIS plays a critical role in strengthening Indian trade and exports. The product certification scheme is regarded as one of the biggest around the world, with around 26,500 licenses covering no less than 900 products. True BIS certification is fundamental to the use of mark on their products. Hope Madam will further ensure the importance of BIS and how it is influencing our lives in detail. And hope you will find today's session more informative. On behalf of St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, Department of Mechanical Engineering, and on behalf of our webinar team, I warmly welcome our speaker and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I call upon Mr. K. Gnanasekaran, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, to give away the introductory address of today's speaker.
Thank you, Krishna. Good morning to one and all present here. I'm happy to welcome you all to this webinar. I wish you all a wonderful day. We are in an era of globalization. Consequences have been imprinted in the minds of people on quality. The terms safety, durability, and reliability converge at a single point, the quality. The entire world now is driven by an ideology called consumerism. Standards have been set on various fronts, be it a products, be it a production process, be it servicing, everything follows a set of guidelines, rules, and specifications. No field in left without standardization. To survive and to excel, every human needs to set his or her personal standards through value systems. ISO, ISI, BIS, BSI, American standards, and Bharat standards are quite popular among the masses. Every layman uses the term AGMARK knowingly or unknowingly. KDMs and hallmarks are the popular talks among the homemakers. Here comes the speaker of the day, Mrs. G. Bhavani, scientist grade E, Bureau of Indian Standards, to standardize our understanding on the standards. Madam pursued her bachelor degree in the field of civil engineering from SRM Engineering College, and she was honored with a gold medal from Madras University for her academic performance. Madam started her career as a lecturer in SRM Engineering College for a period of 2 years. She also worked as an assistant engineer in the highways department for 4 years and was involved in design of bridges and roads. Madam joined BIS in 1999 and served in BIS Coimbatore for 14 years and came to BIS Chennai in 2013. She has been involved in certification activity of various types of commercial and non-commercial products. She was the product certification officer and hallmarking officer for the Southern region in the Secretariat of Deputy Director General Southern region at Chennai for 7 years. Madam presently holding the dual roles, Scientist E in Chennai branch office to BIS Southern Regional Office, and as a Scientist E head Kochi branch office, BIS Kochi, Kerala. St. Joseph Institute of Technology has its own standards in providing technical education to the students across the nation and from other countries. I am honored to have been given the opportunity to welcome such a high-profile speaker on behalf of St. Joseph Institute of Technology, Department of Mechanical, to this webinar. Being engineers, our ultimate objective are providing the quality products, services, and solutions to the community. Today, we will get to know more on technical standards and other vital areas of standardization from Madam Mrs. G. Bhavani. I welcome you, Madam, to take over the session.
Thank you. The head of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, for the warm welcome and a very detailed introduction of me. Thank you. I'm really happy to be a part of this webinar. And this is my, I think, third visit or third presentation which I'm giving for the St. Joseph's College of Engineering. We have a very detailed procedure for bringing up awareness of standards for the students in particular. Am I audible clearly? I hope I'm very clear in audio.
Yes, ma'am. It's perfect, ma'am.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, Bureau of Indian Standards. This is our name, BIS, right? Earlier, I would like to tell you why the topic standards BIS standards touches our lives. What was the necessity to choose this topic? Actually, it is any standards touch our life. But then I'm from BIS, so I thought that I should be talking more about my standard, that is our organization standard, which I feel we feel so proud of our organization. And so I made it as BIS standards touch our lives. Right. Now, directly going to the presentation.
I request all the participants to pin ma'am's presentation. In people's list, you can see G. Bhavani, name of the people. Just click ma'am's name and pin the button so that this presentation screen will not be navigated. I request all the participants to pin the ma'am's presentation screen. Thank you.
I
Yes,
hope
ma'am,
the
we can
screen
continue.
is sharing.
Yes, ma'am. We can able to see.
Okay. In between, I would like to ask some questions also, but it can't be like an interactive session, right?
Yes, ma'am. We can have the Q&A at the end of the session.
Fine. Okay. So
Thank you.
first, I would like to tell you something which the first Governor General of India had told, which are something very, very, very important as far as the industry is concerned. He says that standards are to the industry what culture is to the society. A society needs to have culture. Without culture, the society cannot progress. So similarly, an industry must have standards. Only then it can progress. So when he told, it was long ago, and around the same time only, the organization, this BIS organization was formed. Let me be very clear, because this organization is as old as independence. We got the independence in the year 1947, and it was on 15th August. A few months before that, on 6th January 1947, this organization was formed. Now, what was the name of the organization at that time? The name of the organization was Indian Standards Institution. Indian Standards Institution, ISI. You must have heard the ISI mark. Fine. So that is the organization. The Indian Standards Institution has become the Bureau of Indian Standards. Okay, why? Why was there a necessity to change the name? And you still have the ISI mark with you, right? You must have seen ISI mark in various products. So I will be dealing about most of the certifications which we are doing, and how is it going to touch our lives, not your, or it is our lives. Right from the morning till the night, in how many ways we are touched by the standards. So I would like to tell you with some examples so that you feel, more related to it and it's easy to understand. Right? So at this juncture, at the just before the independence, the foundations for this standardization was laid in the country by forming this organization called Indian Standards Institution. And the main aim was the economy. At the time of independence, the economy of the country was very low. And in order to boost the national economy, this particular necessity was felt that we have to have a department which caters to the industry as well as the quality of the product and to satisfy the consumers who are using it. So as I said, we started in 1947. So we are an organization as old as independence, and 6th January every year is celebrated as our foundation day. Okay, so when this organization was formed, it was a registered society. It did not have much powers. By then, in the year 1986, an important development took place with regard to consumer. 1986 was the year when the National Consumer Act was formed. So at the time, they were the departments which were serving the consumers. Our department was basically for serving the consumers and the industry. So those departments were chosen, and the powers, the working, the way of doing things, everything was analyzed, and they were vested with more powers. They were given more powers. And then the organization ISI was named as Bureau of Indian Standards through an enactment of an act. So it became a statutory body, that is, a body which formed by the enactment of an act. So that act was called the BIS Act, and that was in the year 1986. Okay, now coming to the latest position, this particular act in 1986 was again considered for revision, because from 1986 to till date, a lot of technological developments have taken place. In 1991, there was liberalization. Lot of industries invested in India, and lot of changes took place. The way of the lot of companies came to India, a lot of manufacturing firms came to India. So it was felt that this act needs to be revised with the changing times. So accordingly, this act has been revised as BIS Act 2016, right? And the main objective, as I said, it is for the industry, and the upgradation of industry is for what? It is for protecting the interests of the consumers, right? Then the main, your HOD was telling, like where are the activities of standards formulation and certification, conformity assessment, foreign manufacturer scheme, hallmarking. Hallmarking is something which we are doing it very in a very good way, and product certification is the best. And now the compulsory registration system. I will be telling in detail about everything. But before that, what is this standardization? What exactly is this standardization? You've heard of standards, right? First standard, second standard, third standard, and then up to 12th standard. Is my screen getting shared?
No, ma'am, it's not scared. I think
I got a message now. That's good.
You can ignore, ma'am. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Since we have asked the participants to pin your screen, even someone else present, they will be able to see only your screen.
Okay.
It's fine, ma'am. You can see.
I can see that. It's like you can see the slideshow.
Presentation. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Slideshow.
You can go full screen. No, no more. You can go for full screen mode. Yeah, okay. Fine. No, fine.
So what is this standardization? Now I will give you a definition. An activity giving solutions for repetitive applications to problems, essentially in the spheres of science, technology, and economics, aimed at the achievement of optimum degree of order in a given context. So this is what is the definition of standardization. When you Google, you'll get this definition, and generally this activity consists of processing or formulating, issuing, and implementing standards. But I don't think so you will be able to understand this. So I will tell you, this is something, a bookish definition. So we'd like to go through an example, so that you will understand it better. So now I'll take 3 examples: plug, socket, cell phones, and air conditioners. Have you seen the plug and the socket? Right? In the socket, there are 3 holes, and the plug, there are 3 pins. Right? And the pins are not of the same diameter. One of the pin, which is at the top, is having a bigger diameter and is a little longer than the pins which are at the bottom. Have you observed this? Have you observed this? And the socket similarly has a, to match this pin, the socket is also designed. Have you ever thought why one of the pins has a bigger diameter and is longer? Well, in case of an interactive session, I would have paused and asked for answers, but I think it is not possible, right, Krishna Kumar?
Yes, ma'am.
So in such a situation, I'm just telling you the answer. The socket, the pin which has got the longer length is called the earth. So that will be when you insert a plug into the socket, the pin which touches the earth, touches the socket first is the earth. Do you agree with that? Earthing is given for a safety of the consumer, right? So the first, when even before the power enters into the equipment, the first pin, the earth pin, which touches the socket will be the earth pin, so that the safety of the product, safety of the consumer who is using this is met. So this is a safety feature which is installed while manufacturing the plug and socket itself. Do you get it? So this aspect, this angle of thinking, this way of thinking is something is needed for this standardization. I'm talking only of the secure standardization, that is the safety aspect. Likewise, now in cell phones, have you seen the cell phone chargers? Does the Apple charger and another brand charger are actually matching? Can you use the same charger for another phones? No. It is because the charging pin is designed in a different way. Here, do you feel that it will be suitable or ease of use will be there for the consumers? For us, we feel difficult, right? We cannot use an Apple phone charger to charge a Samsung phone or a Redmi phone, right? So such things, I feel, in case of plug and socket, where there is so much of thought given for designing and incorporating a safety aspect in case of plug and socket, is not there in cell phones. Do you agree with me? Because the ease of operation with respect to charging is not met. So I'm giving an example of a place where standardization already exists. So this aspect of this thinking, this thought of installing a safety feature while manufacturing the product itself is called the standardization. So in case of plug and socket, this is used in all the electrical equipments. All the equipments, this is there. So if this aspect is taken care at the time of manufacture itself, it will serve the purpose. It will serve the purpose of safety. So that aspect, that thought that goes into it is called the standardizing of that particular product with respect to only safety. Now coming to cell phones, this aspect is not there. I feel this is one aspect of cell phone charging only. I'm not telling the entire cell phone. Entire cell phone, there are a lot of things which are standardized. An example is the keyboard. Earlier, there was like, before this, there used to be this QWERTY keyboard. There were some cell phones with the QWERTY, QWERTY. And now we have the cell phones with the normal pattern. And you have seen the numbers 1, 2, 3, and the way they are actually laid in phones are all the same. And green color for incoming, red color for cutting a call. All these things are standardized. There are so many ways you can actually see similarities in this phone. The way the call is being answered, what is a missed call, what is a incoming call, and what should be the logo of a WhatsApp, a logo of a Instagram. and the way it has to be, it has to appear in a cell phone. These all are standardized. So the aspect of standardization with respect to charging is not there. So I'm giving you an example by telling that this aspect is, to explain the standardization part. Fine. Now coming to the third example, which is air conditioner. Can you tell me the difference between the switching on of an air conditioner and switching on of a ordinary switch? Any switch. In a switch, you press the, from top to bottom, you switch on. Whereas in case of an air conditioner, it is from below to top. Have you seen that? You will have to switch on by lifting, by against gravity. Against gravity, you have to take the switch on the air conditioner against you will have to go from below to up. Whereas in case of a switch, it is ordinary, a fan switch or a light switch. It is the opposite side. Here again, just think, a small thing, but why there's a difference? Again, these standards come into the play. Here, air conditioner is a very heavy power consuming equipment. So in case it has to be switched on, it has to be done with the intention of the person who's going to use it. Right? It cannot be just switched on. If it is from top to bottom, what happens is if a weight falls on top of the air conditioning, that switch, there are chances that it can switch on its own. So to prevent this, it has been made the opposite side, unless in case of a light or a fan. Fine. These are small aspects. These are given only for examples. Fine. So now we'll go back to the definition. So standardization is an activity. Yes, it's an activity. You think something and you try to do it. Giving solutions for repetitive application to problems. So wherever there are repetitive applications, you may be using your plug-in socket repetitively. So here, the application here, just consider the example of the plug-in socket. And then what problems it could have? One problem is, I explained to you, the safety. There could be continuous connectivity of current also. The problem, the diameter is bigger there. Why should it be? I think it is more of electrical engineering. So standards which are with respect to your subject. I will tell you with respect to the subject also. Fine. So this essentially in the field of science. Yes, this is electrical engineering, technology. It could be even in economics. So what is it? Why should such an activity be done? It should be done so that there is an order. There is an order. There's a way of doing things. Standard is, it's a way of doing things properly. So to achieve this optimum order in a particular context, that is the definition of standardization. And what does it contain? It contains formulating, issuing, and implementing standards. What is this formulating, issuing, and implementing? Formulating is nothing but like you are in engineering college. Many of your professors have written books. I remember I studied one ND, but there was one author for engineering drawing. And again, there was another book by Ramesh Babu. Is it there still?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's that. We still use that.
So I remember that it was easy to understand. So this way of writing, this writing is called formulating, to put it in simple terms. And issuing, what is this issuing? Publishing. The author has published that particular standard, particular book for engineering drawing. So that is publishing, so issuing. And implementing. Implementing is the colleges adopting. Yes, you can read this ND, but as well as this book. So implementing. Now I will tell you in detail what exactly is everything. So I was telling you it's a standardization. You'll have to make it simple. Now, variety reduction. I wanted to tell you, if suppose different varieties of cell phones have different types of charges. So the types of manufacturing, the types of charges that are being manufactured will also be more. So the variety of these charges will increase. And for every, if the opposite, if you think the opposite, if the charges are all the same, it is all one and the same, all dimensions. Now, don't you think that it is not necessary for us to buy a charger along with the cell phone? You can just reduce the cost of the charger. Fine. So the aspect of variety reduction takes place when there is standardization. And of course, the safety aspect I discussed in detail. And then there is growth and economy. Unnecessarily, we shouldn't be manufacturing things which are going to just, for the sake of manufacturing, it shouldn't be. It should be with a purpose. And ultimately, we have to set a goal for quality. For this quality, I will explain you with an example. There are different benefits also. I'm just telling the benefits to the technologists that you can have a proper design. It also improves the production and processes. Now, with respect to the students who are studying in the engineering colleges, after you finish your college, you will be either going for higher studies, and you will be entering an industry. So at the industry level, whichever level you are entering, you will be entering as at the testing level, or at the manufacturing level, or as managers, or start your own industries, being the top management. At each level, BIS has lots to offer to you. We will discuss that also. Fine. And for the manufacturers, if there are so many ways these standards can rationalize their process of manufacture. It can have a control on the various processes, the various raw materials that are actually being employed. If they say, right, all that starts well, ends well, all that is, in Tamil there's a saying, munneru sariya pochuna pinneru sariya varum, which means that if the, what do you call that, munneru? The plow, when you plow a field, if the first row is being done properly, the one which follows behind will be automatically done. So if the raw materials stage, that is the first stage, at that level itself, there is proper control, the proper quality raw materials are used, and the various processes are controlled through proper systemic controls, then the final product that is manufactured will certainly be of very good quality. And the wastage, the defectives will be very less. And the efforts, that the wasteful efforts to do the corrective actions on the defectives will be reduced. And ultimately, the production will be high. Right? So this production will be high at a reduced cost of manufacture. So this will result ultimately in good profits for the company. Fine. Ultimately, now the consumer. Who is a consumer? You are a consumer. I'm a consumer. All of us are consumers of one product or the other. So here now the thing is, it's not, there was a term called consumer satisfaction. Now it is not consumer satisfaction. It is consumer delight. The consumer has to be delighted by the quality of the goods or the services he purchased. That's why you find lots of apps which ask for feedback. Everything, not only every service that asks your feedback about how was this, how was that. You must have seen that. For simple service of delivering a particular product, don't you get feedbacks asking you to rate their service? So that much of importance has been given to the consumer. It could be for the quality of the products, it could be for the services, whatever. And so why is it? So that the consumers have a feeling that, okay, I have spent money for this, and I feel that whatever I got back is worth for what I spent. Fine. And there is also a method. Just a minute. sorry. Um, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You just minimize. You can minimize the browser. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Is it clear? This the slide is shown, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the standardization, I think we talked more of standards. It can be at various levels. It could begin at your house. It could begin at your house. There are ways. Uh, right. There is a way, like in our homes, there is a way to do things. You can see from your parents, your grandparents, there's a time to get up. There's a time to sleep. Similarly, once you get up, there's a proper way of doing things. First, you have to pray the God. There are so many activities which your parents will be doing, your grandmother or your grandfather will be doing. Some will go for some. I'm telling of the olden days, like when there is a way to draw a column. There is a system even now to draw a column in front of the house. The lady of the house draws the column, and then there's a way to light the diya, the kuttu velakku they say. No, it's a way of there is a way, there's a practice that the kuttu velakku should be always lit in the house, and then the way the your cooking starts. That is, there is a way, like more you have a morning uh, breakfast, lunch, and then a dinner. Breakfast in some houses I've seen they have a very heavy breakfast. So these all, and then the way the next course of the house take place, and the way a kitchen and the puja room, and so many ways how what should be there. These are some activities and which the parents also preach. They say it in the name good habits. You'll have to get up early in the morning, early to bed, early to sleep. All these things we have seen them growing up. So these all are kinds of standardizations. They make you they give you an optimum degree of order in your life. So this standardization is being practiced by us from time immemorial. The primitive man, from then on, it is being practiced. So this all aspects, and then coming to the observance of the festivals. There are so many festivals. To talk about the Tamil festival, the harvest festival, Pongal, why should it be celebrated in the month of Thai? And after that, you have a brief lull, and then you have the Thai month specifies like you have the harvest, you have money in hand. So there is a saying like after Thai, when you have money in hand, there is a saying, no, Thai paranda vadi parakum. So you can do things, you can do business, you can do weddings, you have money, because when you have harvested, you have money, you sell the crops, you have money. So there has been a evolution of the standardization over the period of years also. And you have the after the maybe in the month of September, you have lots of festivals coming lined up. You have the Ganesh Chaturthi, then the Krishna Jayanti, and then the Navratri. Navratri, again, you have a lot of festivals, and then the Diwali, and then the Margadi month. These all are it's kind of imbibed in our culture. So these all aspects are also a evolution of standards in our lives, right? And so this is what is the standards. I wanted to tell that standards begin at our homes also. And similarly, when you are in a school, you have, like, there was a time like when you have a prayer, the first period, second, the period should be of 35 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. And the timetable, so that the entire portions is covered. So this is at a school level. Similarly, at a company level, what time a company employee should come? There are shifts, and there are like who should be entered right from the security, who should be made to come inside the company, through what way he should come, and who should not be permitted to come. All these things are defined, right? All these things are part of the standardization. So the standards, they are called the company standards. Then there are national standards, and then there are international standards, fine? So this standardization can be at very low. This is just to tell you like where all you can think of standardization, right from your home, right from yourself, right from your thoughts. You do yoga, you do pranayama, all these things to think orderly things in your mind. Fine. So a standardization can start from an individual and then go up to the international level. Then, okay, now coming to the standardization, national standardization, that is, BIS is the national standards body. For India, BIS makes the standards. What are the fields? There are 14 fields, and you can see your civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and the major important engineering being part of this. Then we have about, now it is about 20,000 standards which have been formulated, and the ISO and IEC standards. We have harmonized in the sense like we have adopted the ISO standards also. This is about 5,500 now. And the major functions of this standardization are standards formulation. Formulation, as I told you, it is writing. Standards writing. What is a standard? It is nothing but a textbook, like your strength of materials or fluid mechanics or soil mechanics. It is just a textbook on any subject. You write a book about a particular product or a particular activity, that is called the standards formulation. But how to do it? That is something we will discuss with an example. And implementation through certification. So we have the ISI mark. So once a person implements a standard, it is certified. We go and see whether it is as per that standard and then give him a certification. The act of this doing this certification is called conformity assessment. Fine. So implementation of a standard is through this certification. Fine. So now I will take the example of a product, which is a common product, packaged drinking water. I think everyone now, considering people are from Tamil Nadu and other states also, packaged drinking water, the water which comes in your 20-liter container or a 1-liter bottle, all this comes like it has become a part of our life. Now, I will just tell you what example, how to write a standard. Okay, you have a engineering drawing book written by N.D. Butt, and there are so many chapters. Similarly, this also has so many chapters. So I will take the example of packaged drinking water, and I just want you to go through just think what exactly are the characteristics which you would look in water. Now, considering color, would you like your water to have some color? Certainly not, right? And would you like to have the water to have, it would have been an interactive session. I would have asked you some big questions, but anyway, since it's not the interactive session is not feasible, I'm just telling you just like that. So would you like your product to have some small odor in it? No. And then would you like to have a salty taste or a sweet taste? Certainly not, right? So in such a situation, so all these color, odor, taste, and can you imagine some water with some dust or some dirt or some floating matter into it? No, certainly not. Impurities, turbidity, nothing. No, a big no to all these things. And the hardness. Hardness is there, then the water will not lather with soap. So it is something which we don't want. So all these color, odor, taste, turbidity, the dissolved solids, total dissolved solids, the hardness, all these things are something which considered, can be grouped under physical parameters? Can you consider them as physical parameters? Yes. So the book, the standard, the standard is a book that should contain, the packaged drinking water product should contain a requirement for these physical parameters. And what are the physical parameters? We just discussed now, which is color. And what should be the limit? What should be the value for this color? It should be simple, colorless. And what should be the odor? Odorless. So the requirement, the parameter is you group under the physical parameter. Physical parameter, one of the parameters is color, one is odor, one is taste. Taste, what should be? Can I say tasteless? No, we can say it as pleasant taste. So this pleasant taste is called the requirement. And similarly, pH. pH is something very important, right? If the pH is 7 is neutral, below 7 it becomes acidic, and above 7 it becomes basic. So the water, if it becomes more basic, it becomes a sort of, what do you call that, sour. It's becoming a little sour. And so, and acidic water is not good for health. So you have to fix a pH. But can you put it exactly 7? It may not be possible. So you can have it between 6.5 and 7.5 or 8.5. This particular fixing, this limits, this requirement is again a science. Again, you'll have to apply, you have to get data, what is correct, right? Next, coming to the most important requirement, which is chemical requirement. Can a standard have copper? Can it have iron? Yes, it can have iron. It can have copper. It can have calcium. It can have magnesium. There are so many parameters which are permitted. Many of the minerals are present in water. But to what extent it can be available, that has to be debated and fixed. This fixing of limits. So the parameter under the heading chemical has so many elements like calcium, magnesium, iron, silicates, chlorides, all these things, but they have to be fixed in limits. Proper limits should be fixed. This activity is again, when you write the book, you will have to write this. Okay? Because nitrates, it can be present in water, but if it is more than 45 parts per million, it causes a lot of diseases. It is not good for health. And similarly, iron, if it is more than the particular specified limit, this is called the specified limit, the container becomes brown. When you wash your clothes, it becomes brown. You must have seen it also in your taps when you open it also. When the chlorine is more, you feel the kind of odor coming out from the tap water. And next, most important, microbiological requirements. Can it have bacteria? A big no. Can it have algae? Can it have virus? My God, no. Considering this, by telling the word virus itself, we get scared. We don't want all these things. So all these things, the requirement must be absent. No fixing limits of 1 ml, 2 ml, nothing. Zero. Absent. Fine. And then next is radioactive residues. We have Kalpakam very close to us. So we have to think of in terms of even radioactive residues, right? Alpha, beta, gamma, all these things, there should be nil. It should be nil. So, and luckily we don't have also in this. These all are specified in the standard, right? So when you write a standard, like my packaged drinking water shall have this physical parameters, chemical parameters, microbiological requirements, and then the radioactive requirements, and one more requirement called the pesticide residues. This also they thought we should include in the standard. Why is it? Why pesticide residues is important? It is because packaged drinking water is processed from the water which comes from the bore wells. The source of water is bore wells. Source of water is rivers, the flowing rivers. And over a period of time, we have been using a lot of pesticides for our irrigation. And they could have silted to got infiltrated into the bore well or got mixed with the river water. So it is very important that the water which is processed from such sources should not have the pesticide residues which are very, very harmful to the human health. So this residues are also told in the standard, right? And then how to manufacture. The hygiene conditions which are necessary for manufacturing should be told in the standard with respect to food products. So if all these things are written, attempted while making a standard, you write it. And also, most importantly, for these chemical parameters, you should tell how to test iron, how to test your calcium, how to test your barium. You must have done your testing in school days, 11th standard and 12th standard, you would have done estimation of salts. So that particular test method also should be told in the standard. So this writing of the standards of a book is called the standards formulation. I hope you would have understood what is writing a standard, what is formulating a standard. With this example, I hope so. So this particular standard is IS 14543. And now if you have a packaged drinking water bottle in front of you, just look for the marking details on the product. You will find an ISI mark. The ISI mark will have a number, and that number will be this IS 14543. This IS is nothing but the Indian standard, the abbreviation for Indian standard, which is for packaged drinking water other than packaged natural mineral water. Why is it other than packaged natural mineral water? Because that has another standard. That is IS 13428. In the flights, you mostly, if you, this particular other packaged natural mineral water will be given. IS 14543 is not there. The mark will be the ISI mark with IS 13428. And what is this year? 2004. That is the year in which it was formulated, the year it was written. Now the standard has got revised. It is now 2016. So every 5 years, every standard is taken up for revision, checked whether it is the latest technological developments can be addressed into it. And it is taken up for revision every year, every 5 years. Okay, what is this number? Why should this IS 14543 be given? So we started with IS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so much. Okay, and now we are about 20,000 standards around. 20,000, we just crossed 20,000. So this Indian standard 1 is something very important. It has to be as a mark of respect for the Indian national flag. The IS 1 is for the product Indian national flag, right? So this is the physical. The requirements can be classified under 6 broad requirements, which we discussed, which is physical, chemical, toxic. I forgot to tell you toxic. Can it contain arsenic? Can it contain cyanide? So there are certain toxic elements. Here again, the requirement should be nil. It should be absent. Toxic element of arsenic, toxic element of cyanide should be absent, should be nil, 0. Fine. And then microbiological, pesticide residues, and radioactive residues. Permissible limits also I told. pH, they fixed it in the standard as 6.5 to 8.5. The total dissolved solids is 500 parts per million maximum. Iron 0.1. This is not the complete list. I'm just giving you examples. So the document should necessarily contain the requirements, the permissible tests, as well as how to do the tests. That is very important. So this entire activity of creating this document, writing this document, is called standards formulation. Okay. Now, who is doing this? Do you think BIS is doing this? Of course, we are a part of it, but there are so many people involved in this. There are so many people involved in this. Who are these people? It's a network of technical committees. There are so many people who are involved in the form of technical committees, and they are from the representatives of industry. The industry, the first person who is going to tell what should be the standard, what are the parameters which are important for any product. For example, take a simple product like your fan. What should be a fan? How many wings a fan should have? All these things, the first person to tell will be from the industry. And second, the R&D organizations, how to do the tests. And here, again, I would like to tell you, I have put this as bold because your engineering colleges can also be a part of this technical committees. I'm sure, I don't know whether any of your members are, any of your professors are members of the technical committees. Here, the engineering colleges, the research and development organizations, under these heads, you can become members of technical committees and give your views for various products. Now think, I will tell you examples of mechanical engineering. Water, I told, because everyone will know about water. The water, what you drink, no, you'll be able to tell. And then most importantly, the testing and laboratory experts, how to test a product, all these things, they will only be able to tell. And then the government departments who are using the services and the products will be part of it. And most importantly, the consumers, they will be part of these technical committees. Your engineering college professors, your faculty can become members of technical committees, and how to apply all these things are also shared, and how to do it is mentioned in our BIS website. So we started this product certification. The second aspect is how to certify a standard. So we have the ISI mark, which is the, I told you, the water, packaged drinking water, which contains the ISI mark. We have retained the mark. We have retained the name of the organization, which is Indian Standards Institution, because it was, what do you call, it was impressed in the minds of the people. People were familiar with ISI mark. When the organization name changed from ISI in 1986 to Bureau of Indian Standards, we didn't want to change the ISI mark because it was etched in the minds of the people. And then now we have the hallmark. You have not, people I think will know hallmark, though it is a very, it's the baby, it's still, what do you call, 20 years old it is actually, but still we started the certification only in 2000. And this is something like quite popular among people. And then we have something called mandatory certification. Mandatory in the sense, mostly it is voluntary. Your, say for example, certain products are very important considering the safety of the public, safety of children. So in such cases, safety of structures. So such products like cable, cement, cables, electrical safety, these products have come under mandatory, which means that a manufacturer who manufactures these products have to first get the BIS certification and only then manufacture the product in and do the commercial sale. So there are so many products which are there. And now something which is picking up very fast is the compulsory registration scheme, which is called the CRS, which is for electronic goods. There are so many products which are under this, 50 products which are there, your cell phones, your TVs, your televisions, your toys, your iPad, and your lights, all these things have come under this compulsory registration scheme. You can go to our website and see. And then we also do the foreign manufacturers certifications, like all these products which are manufactured from the foreign country and which come to India have to necessarily meet the standards which are fixed for the country. Why is it important? Because India shouldn't be a place for dumping substandard products. Fine. So this is the standard mark which you can see. The IS is the Indian standard and the number is for the product. As you saw, IS 14543 was for packaged drinking water, 651 is for another product. And what is this number which is below? It is once a factory applies to BIS for this, using the standard mark, claiming that yes, my product will meet the requirements of the Indian standard. Then we go there, we verify what he says by way of his manufacturing facilities, by way of his testing facilities, whether is it meeting the requirements of the standard, and when we also test the product in his presence. He should have a proper testing person to test that product. And if it is meeting the requirements, we also draw a sample from the stock and send it to our recognized laboratories. BIS has got more than 140 laboratories which are recognized for various products. We test that product with our in our labs, and if it is meeting all the requirements, only then a license is given to him. That certification marks license is a number which has to be put below the ISA mark. The ISA mark should be affixed on the product, and the product name and number should be affixed on top of the ISA mark, and the license number should be below the ISA mark. This is the complete ISA mark. Any ISA mark without the IS number on top and the license number without being without the IS license number is a spurious ISA mark, and it is illegal to do such things. And we have measures to punish such manufacturers also. Now, let me give you examples of standards. IS-1, as I told you, it is national flag. IS-1786, it is for steel. That is the high-strength deformed steel bars, which is used in the construction. And IS-2347, you can just go to your kitchen and check today. And it is for the pressure cooker, which is used in every household. And 3196 is the LPG cylinder, which is used. You can just go and see the ISA mark in the LPG cylinder, which is used in every household. And the household, which one other product which touches your life is the solar flat plate collector, which is on the terrace. Many of you must be using solar flat plate collector for the in your apartments. So you can just go and see if it is ISA marked. Here again, mandatory things are IS-1786 comes under mandatory certification in the sense that compulsory certification. It means that if a manufacturer has to manufacture that product, he shall do it only with the BIS certification. And 2347 was to be made, and it is waiting for mandatory certification. LPG cylinders, considering the safety aspect, it is coming under mandatory certification. And 4151, any guesses? It is for helmets. Helmets is also being considered for mandatory certification. And cement, all kinds of cement are under mandatory certification. And now, so this is the standard mark which touches your life. It gives you safety against hazards, accidents, etc. It gives not only safety to your life, but also for the property. It ensures that it is your product, whichever you're using, is conforming to the relevant standard. It gives you quality. It protects you from deception, cheating, all these things. And once you buy an ISA product, and you find it defective. You buy an ISA mark product and you find it is defective, you can get a free replacement of your product, which many of you are not aware. Fine. So if you buy an ISA marked product and you find it defective, there is a proper redressal mechanism with BIS, and you can get a free replacement from the same company from where you have manufactured. So it touches all parts of your life. And then next kind of certification is the quality management system. That is the management system certification. We have the ISO 9001, the environmental management system, which is for we do a lot of ISO certification also. That is ISO 9001, which is for the management systems in the factory, the quality management, the environment in your industry. It's for the colleges also. ISO 9000 is for colleges also. And then safety, health safety, occupational health safety management system is for during functioning of the safety aspects that are to be employed in a factory. And then in case of food industry, it is again the food safety management, which is, we also do this certification. And the most important recent one is the energy management systems, right? So what is important in case of saving energy, because today's energy saved is something you're going to save for your children. So that is very important. It's actually picking up. And then now coming to how BIS for the students. Now, when you join a company, when you are in the college, you're using lot of standards. The civil engineering students will be using lot of IS codes, you call them. So they will be using the IS 456, which is for the concrete pre-stressed, it's for the reinforced concrete. And then you have the steel IS 800, which they will be using. And then, so the students of civil will know. I don't know whether it's mechanical. I think you are using some steam tables or something. You can use, when you're studying any subject, any aspect in your syllabus, you can refer to the standard. You can refer to the standard, what BIS has in for you. And I think your college can purchase the entire standards in CD form. We have a lot of electronic versions of standards also, so that at any point of time when you're doing your project work also, you can refer to the standard. Say, for example, a civil engineer is going to construct say, for example, amusement park. We have a standard for amusement park. So how should amusement park, how the entrance should be, how there should be a fire exit. All these things are written in that standard. So likewise in your mechanical engineering also, there are so many good products. Turbines, there are products. So like you can, as students, you can refer them and see what is the requirement of the standard. You can do it as a project itself. You can choose a particular subject, go into our website, log in, and find out what is the standard available. You can't access the standards, you'll have to buy them. You can buy from your, the college can buy, and for students, there is a discount of 60%. It is exclusively for the students of colleges, educational institutions. If you can buy those standards, you can buy it at a discount of 60%. 100 rupees standard, you can get it for 40 rupees. Fine. And there are, so this you have to utilize it. How many of the colleges are using? We get a lot of mails buying the entire standards for the college library. All in, it need not be in hard copy. It can be even in electronic format. So at various stages, when you enter a company, what are the raw materials used? For that, what standards are available with BIS? Use those standards. And then you check at every stage. When you join the company at the level of, for example, the quality control person. Once you are into the manufacture, you can see what certification I can, what the management system certification I can employ in the process control so that the wastages are less. And what code of practice you're using, what should be the method of incoming of raw material, what should be the control I should exercise. All these things are available. There are a lot of standards available when you're in the manager side. Again, in the quality control, what testing facility I should have. For this particular standard, for this particular testing, say for example, your tensile test, we have a standard for tensile testing. What should be the UTM capacity? What should be the design of the steel? You have a dumbbell shaped design. What should be the dimension of it? So are you doing the quality control testing as per the standard? So that aspect you can think. And then when you're in the managing level, you're at the top management, you can how to market your product. First thing, you get a certificate, you get a certification, you get an ISI mark for your product, you get a management, you get an ISO for your product. You get all these, and you can say my product is ISI marked, which is a third party, which is ISI. BIS has told my product is meeting the requirements of the standard. My BIS has given a certification for ISO 9001, 14001, and whatever, energy conservation. So my product has a better value compared to another product. And a top management person can tell this. So at various levels, as I told you, at various levels, right at your home, think of a toothpaste in the morning. There is a standard for toothpaste. Then when you come to the kitchen, there is a standard for pressure cooker. You just see the pressure cooker which your mother is using. It is having an ISI mark. And the gas stove which is being used, gas stove, the standard is IS 4249. The gas stove has got the standard, and the LPG cylinder has got a standard. So every aspect, right from your house, come to your college. The college doors and windows. The doors and windows has a standard. Now think of any product, you air conditioner has got a standard. Now the acoustics of a room, what should be the area, all these things are told in a standard. So it touches hospitals. What are the requirements of hospitals? What should be, how an hospital operation theater should be? What should be the gas which should be allowed? That is told in a standard. There are so many places the standard touches your life, right? And now just think of this. Next is I would be just touching this jewelry part because I think jewelry also touches your life. There can't be any woman who doesn't like jewelry. So hallmarking is something which is very, very popular in BIS. We started in the year 2000. We also, first we started with the gold hallmarking, and 5 years later, that is in 2005, we also did the silver hallmarking also we are doing. No, I know, we are not doing diamond jewelry. I know somebody must have thought, okay, first gold, then silver, then diamond. No, diamond certification is still not, it's not done by BIS. Okay, now what to look for in hallmarking? These all this for exclusively for in-depth. So why we needed to do this hallmarking was lot of jewelry. There is high gold consumption in India. You know, the weddings, your any wedding, any child is born, the child grows, the marriage takes place, and until death, there is gold in everything, right? That talk is in terms of gold in case of weddings and in case anything. So there is consumption is very high. And it was found that the purity was very low. 22 carat, they will say, but it won't be 22 carat. You think some people boast, like this is the jewelry which was worn by my grandmother's grandmother, and still we have it and it is not broken only. How nice it is. But I tell you that gold, that particular jewelry, whatever, whether it is a necklace or a bangle, would have contained more of copper. That's why it is lasting so much of time, like so much long years. So whether the money which you are paying for buying a jewelry, is it really worth the money of gold you're getting? Fine. So all these things were a question mark until the hallmarking was launched. So here there is a third party assurance, which means that there is a person who sells gold and there's a person who buys gold. And there is a third party who is not connected to either the buyer or the seller. And he says, yes, he gives an assurance telling that, yes, this particular gold is of good quality, you can buy. And the third party assurance is given by BIS. How is it given? We also recognize the assaying and hallmarking centers who use the hallmark on behalf of BIS. So they give the hallmarking, they do the hallmarking on the jewelers. Jewelers get a registration from BIS. So the third party assurance is given by BIS through the assaying and hallmarking centers so that the consumers can buy hallmarked jewelry from the registered BIS jeweler. So jeweler who is registered with BIS only can use the hallmarking. And how does he get the hallmarking done? It is through the BIS recognized assaying and hallmarking centers. So this is how it is done. Now, what as consumer, how do you know? What you should see is there are only 3 caratages which can be hallmarked. 3 carats in the sense, the 22 carat, 18 carat and 14 carat. But then what is this caratage? It is related to the parts, that is parts of gold. Parts of gold in the gold jewelry. You know, the gold cannot be made directly. It has to be alloyed with silver, copper, etc. So in case of 1,000 parts of gold, 916 is 1,000 parts of the jewelry, 916 is gold. That corresponds to 22 carats. Similarly, if in 1,000 parts of gold, 1,000 parts of jewelry, if 750 is gold, it corresponds to 18 carat. And similarly, for 14 carat, it is 585 parts of gold in the gold jewelry. Fine. So now what you have to look for is the 4 marks, which is the first mark is called the BIS hallmarking logo, which is the one in the blue color. And the purity should be in caratage and fineness. Caratage in the sense 22K means 22 carats. which corresponds to fineness of 916. 916 is quite famous, right? And if the caratage is 75K, the fineness will be 750. So purity should be entered in both caratage and fineness. And then the hallmarking center's logo, the Assaying and Hallmarking Center, which is recognized by BIS, should put their logo there. And the jeweler also should put the logo. Now, where should you see all these things? It should be in the jewelry which you buy. If you buy a bangle, you have to see for all the 4 marks. Okay, now you must be questioning, like it's in case of a stud, a earring, how do I see? It's very small. Yes, for that, the jeweler shall have a magnifying glass. You can demand for a magnifying glass. And show me, you can ask him, show me all the 4 marks. You can show him. So it's your right to ask for the magnifying glass. Of course, in a bangle, it is visible with naked eye, whereas in case of a stud or a small jewelry, it is difficult. So you can ask for so a registered jeweler will have all these marks, and a registered, BIS registered jeweler only can use the hallmark. Okay. And now this is important because the hallmarking has been made mandatory. As I told you in product certification, this particular gold is coming under mandatory certification from 15 January 2021. So the order for it has already come on 15 January 2020, telling that from 15 January 2021, that is coming Pongal, all the jewelry which is sold in the gold jewelry shops shall be hallmarked. So you can now also there are so many registered jewelers, and it from 2021 15 January onwards, all the jewelry that is sold in the country shall be made compulsorily hallmarked, right? So the order has come. And if people are not following, there are punishments. I told you, if the ISA mark is misused and the hallmark is misused, the punishment is very, very, very severe. It has a fine of about 1 lakh and 5 times the value of goods, and even there is imprisonment. Fine. So I would like to conclude with the words of Nehru, who said that no nation could really export successfully unless the nation had standards in which people of other nations had faith. Thank you. You can log on to further details with our website. And thank you for the opportunity given by the St. Joseph's Institute of Technology.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really a wonderful session. So, participants, you can leave your questions, if any, in the chat box, so the ma'am can answer you.